You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason.
Danny.
Fans, we got a full show for you today, so let's get to it. A little Formula One. We're going to start off with Formula One here. We are fans of Formula One. Track and field, the World Championships happened. A little NBA news, a little NFL news, and man, just something else on LIV Golf. But first, the Formula One, where this past Sunday, Sir Lewis Hamilton got into second place, got on the podium here in the French Grand Prix. He actually, and there's a Formula One rule in where you have to allow the alternate driver to participate in a qualifying round. And Sir Lewis Hamilton actually allowed for that to happen. And so thus did not participate in the qualifying round. But he did ultimately came up in second place. Let me just say this, fans. Now, whether it's too late for Sir Lewis Hamilton to win and make up the point difference to become world champion for the 8th time, which in my opinion should be the 9th time. Mm-hmm. Sir Lewis Hamilton has really stuck it out this season in where his car was not up to par at the beginning of the season. And now he is starting to get on the podium. This is his 5th podium, which allows him to accumulate even more points. So, man, this was just an interesting race. His 300th race, and that is with 103 wins and 7 world championships. Should be 8 world championships. And so I just have to say that what a mark here for his 300th race. And that ranks way up there, man. We'll see where he goes from here on out on his Formula One racing career. I mean, there's speculations about him retiring or him going into a new racing family other than Mercedes. We'll see what happens, but man, what an accomplishment for 300 races in Formula One to be dubbed 7-time world champion. Should be 8. And so what an achievement. What say you, Danny?
Got that momentum going now.
Mm-hmm.
Russell, his other Mercedes teammate, took 3rd. Mm-hmm. Max Verstappen took 1st. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of those things now where you can see he's more confident in what he's driving. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of questions. It was like week to week, there is something else going on with the car or the tires or the engine. Mm-hmm. So now I think there's some consistency and he's starting to roll. Now I think this is where he has to get some of those first places. He's moving his way up. He's been in third. Now he got his 2nd place. Now he needs that 1st place to accumulate those points. So a lot of time still left in the season, and we'll see what happens next week and the weeks coming up to see if he can start getting some of those first place finishes.
And now, Danny, on to track and field and where the World Championships actually happened this past week and weekend. And man, just what an excellent showing by the USA track and field team. They've been dubbed, according to teamusa.org, and where Team USA concludes most successful World Athletics Championship ever. What an excellent showing and showcase by Team USA. And man, we have some young athletes who are doing big things, Danny. Doing big things. There are just a lot of events that stood out to me in Daw, and it was just something else to really behold. The women's 400-meter hurdles, man. I mean, McLaughlin, she still amazes me, man. This continues to break her own world records. Meet after meet after meet, man. What is she going to do next? Now, during her interview, she indicated that her and her coach, Bob Kersey, Hall of Fame coach Bob Kersey, will have to basically discuss what's the next event. It may not be the 400 hurdles. It may be just the 400, where she, man, just had a smashing anchor leg in the 4x4, the 1600-meter relay, man. I mean, mind-boggling. So I'm really intrigued to see what she's going to do next event-wise. I mean, there's just been so many events, man. I mean, whether it's the 200 men's finals, just the whole meet itself. And it was good that it was on U.S. soil out in Oregon, and all great fast track. Yep. And I'm really interested to see what's going to happen in the Olympics here. I mean, you have Allison Felix, who may have run her last race, perform. And then you had the likes of the Jamaican teams getting at times second place, third place, not necessarily getting first place. So the USA is really starting to battle things out here, man. So it's really good to see the next generation of athletes, not only here in the U.S., but also globally, really kind of step up here. I mean, you had, and I forgot her first name escapes me. Athing Mu, who won the 800, the women's 800. I mean, really come through and shine, man. Like I mentioned, Sydney McLaughlin, but it was just awesome seeing this next generation of athletes really go for it.
Yep.
And everything. What say you, Danny?
Yeah, Jay, I happened to run into this because I didn't even know it was on NBC, and I saw it. I was glued after I found it on NBC. And I'll tell you one thing, man, in the relays with the USA women, for what they did to hold off Jamaica, man, their handoffs are so crisp. And you compare that to the men's team, where the men's team, their handoffs were not crisp, which cost them first place.
As always.
It was tough to watch because the men's, they ran their legs fast, but those handoffs were off. And I'm like, because we ran into that in the Olympics. Yep. So if they can get those handoffs ready for 2024, they'll be in good shape, because all their legs were money. It was just those handoffs cost them. So it was an exciting week and some change to watch some Olympic type action, if you want to call it that, because top athletes were there. That women's 4x1 relay was off the chain. And like you said, with the younger talent, the way, like on that anchor leg, the way USA held off Jamaica, because that girl in Jamaica came out of nowhere.
Oh man, she was walking her down.
I was like, oh my God. We're sitting there.
Somebody getting walked down.
Yell at the TV, do not look at the board. Just go. Because she was on her tail, and she pulled it out by, I think it was 0.07 of a second.
Yeah.
So all in all, great event. It's just good to have some action in the summertime.
But I'll be interested in seeing what the TV ratings and everything were. So we'll see what happens. And now a little bit NBA news here, Danny. This thing with Katie is starting to get out of control, man. All this news, all the buzz surrounding him possibly being traded. Now the Celtics are involved here where they may be offering Jaylen Brown for KD. I don't know, Danny. I just think Boston was right there in the finals. They now have Brogdon.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get over the hump here. I don't know about KD for Jaylen Brown. Just because Jaylen, man, when you think about who actually showed up in the finals,
mm-hmm.
Jaylen Brown showed up for the finals.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
I don't know if I would want to necessarily give that up. Give him up.
Mm-hmm.
Got the experience, knows what to improve upon. I'm thinking I'm keeping Jaylen Brown. What say you, Danny?
I agree, Jay. I just look at Durant's getting older, and the offer was Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a first-round pick, which the Nets said they wanted also Marcus Smart in the deal. So that's why they nixed the deal. But I'm looking at, all right, you're younger. Why do you want to get older? You already did the Kyrie experiment. Why mess up the chemistry? Jaylen Brown's a better defender. He's younger. Derek White played great minutes for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I see why the Nets, they're trying to get the biggest haul they can for KD. So I would, they're trying to max value, but at the same time, from Boston's standpoint, why even bring that into your locker room being fresh off the NBA finals?
Come on, man.
Because I don't think KD is that piece. They need a point guard, which they address with Brogdon. It doesn't surprise me. Nothing surprises you with the NBA or any pro sports when something like this comes out. But at the same time, like Boston, you're that close to the NBA finals, to winning the NBA finals. And truth be told, next year, I look at Milwaukee as the only team at this point in time that would prohibit them making the finals again, based on current team layouts and everything like that, or team makeups. So why rock the boat? And Jaylen Brown already feels spited, I think, with the whole Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and then with the contract when he first didn't get his contract. So there's always kind of a chip on his shoulder. Why even enhance it with something like this? So we'll see how this all shakes out and if anything comes of it, but stay as you are and make another run at it with the team you have.
Well, it has been enhanced significantly for Jaylen Brown because let me just say, it feels like he probably feels I'm not wanted.
Yep.
For KD, I mean, KD's going to have he's probably going to have about another 3 years left. But, man, they have a young body, a young soldier who now has a lot of experience in the NBA Finals to give that up, man. I mean.
And on the defensive end, too.
Yeah.
KD's not a defender like that anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Jaylen Brown's a way better defender, in my opinion.
I would say with KD, he can defend. Well, this is pre-injury. So pre-injury, he was actually guarding the 5, not full game, but he would guard him. But yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, Jaylen Brown's a better defender. Yeah, I agree with you there. So we'll see what happens, Danny. Let's see. This KD story is going to happen and go through the rest of the summer. Quite honestly, I don't think he's going to get traded. I think it's going to be to a point where him and Kyrie just going to have to stick it out because nobody wants Kyrie like that. I don't think it's going to work, for the Lakers to get him. And KD, I think is going to just have to stick it out. I think the Nets are going to want too much for KD. So I think it'll be one of those where they have to stick it out.
Yep.
And now on to some football news here before training camp opens up. And Julio Jones signs a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Man, I never saw that coming. But here it is, Julio Jones going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to play with Tom Brady. Julio Jones, the Falcons' career leader in catches with 848, catches, yards, 12,896, and is second to Roddy White in touchdown receptions, 63. It says here, according to ESPN, his 91.9 receiving yards per game is the best per game average in NFL history. And so he goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and where since 2014, Evans, he's led the NFL in touchdown catches, 75. So, man, that duo is going to be something interesting to see if we see it full season.
Yes.
Because we all know Julio Jones has an knack for not being able to play a full season. Last year he played, if I'm not mistaken, 10 games for the Tennessee Titans. And we'll just see what happens, man. I think this is going to be an interesting move here, especially with some of the injuries that has happened to Tampa Bay Buccaneers receiver Godwin, who had an ACL, Chris Godwin, who had a torn ACL late in the season. So this may be one of those that's filling the gap, filling the void until Godwin potentially can come back. But also we don't know what's going to happen with Gronk. So maybe Julio kind of helps with that. But again, this is on the heels of Julio possibly only playing a few games out of the season. What say you, Danny?
It's tough to see, Jason. Tough to see my boy go to Tampa. But it makes sense. They need the insurance policy. He wants a ring. I was thinking he was going to go to Indianapolis to join Matt Ryan, because I think he would have a bigger role there. And maybe that's not even important to him anymore. He's just trying to get the ring. And being in the NFC versus the AFC, where the AFC is a gauntlet, where it's just teams upon teams battling for the Super Bowl, versus in the NFC, there's a few teams that kind of stand out, and Tampa Bay is one of them. So as long as he didn't go to New Orleans, I was happy. Because here with New Orleans, I would have lost it. But with him going to Tampa, still painful, but it makes sense for him. I wish him all the best. And we'll see, because those hamstrings, man, have costing him a number of games, those soft tissue injuries that it depends too when Godwin comes back, how much they're going to really use Julio. But from a decoy perspective, to have Julio as possibly your third receiver. And they also picked up Russell Gage from Atlanta. So it's not like they're asking a lot of Julio as the season goes on, once Godwin comes back. But, man, that receiving core is going to be nasty if they can be on the field together. Straight
nasty, man. Straight nasty. In other NFL news, Kyler Murray signs a massive 5-year, $230.5 million contract extension with the Arizona Cardinals. But what's been getting most of the press here, honestly, has been a stipulation in his contract, and where he has to actually study film 4 hours, at least 4 hours per week at home. Danny, this is just 4 hours. Come on, man. Kyler Murray, what you doing, man? What else are you doing to have an organization, a franchise, to put that stipulation in your contract? I don't know, but that screams to me, I don't know, man. It screams to me that you're good, but you're not good enough. You're better than what's potentially out there. We know you. You're better than the unknown, but we still want you to study at least 4 hours. I mean, if you want to be great, man, I would say ask Dan Marino how many hours he studied, John Elway how many hours he studied, or Tom Brady, how many hours does he study? Aaron Rodgers, how many hours do you study? I mean, I'll be curious to know how many hours these greats actually study per week, compared to just 4 hours. And I think that's setting the bar honestly kind of low, if you ask me. But hey, it is what it is. What say you, Danny?
Jason, this one was very interesting to see in the news because I haven't seen anything ever like this. You've heard of people, first in, first out.
Yep.
Come to practice, leave practice, and go kick it or whatever. But it was never something in a contract, at least we haven't been privy to, where this is your craft. This is why we're paying you all this money. Got to put the time in. And it's hard to say because Kyler Murray, his game, he's so quick and he improvises a lot. I don't know if some of that's gotten him out of. It's kind of like I'm going to say this, Mike Vick. Mike Vick was that same way where he wasn't studying, but he was so dang talented, he could get away with it. But once things kind of progressed, it exposed them. So for them to put this in, they're trying to catch this right now and have him put the work in because they're right there too from an NFC perspective. They can smell it, but that performance they put on in the playoffs last year, exactly. So
no bueno.
And so there has to be some things going on behind the scenes where they had to do it. And I'm curious to see how he reacts. Are we going to see a different Kyler Murray? Not immediately, but like when you get later into the season. Is his play going to change? Is he going to make different reads? He doesn't throw a lot of picks and things, but his feet bail him out on a lot of plays. So this is one of those things where we'll see how it plays out because there's a lot of money riding on this, and that stipulation, if he doesn't fulfill it, his contract can be voided. So there's going to be a lot of gray area. So I'm curious too how they're monitoring this to prove what he's doing. So if I'm him, I'm up in there just knocking that 4 out real quick in their eyes and get on my way.
I mean, that's like literally 1 hour per day.
Yes. Yes.
Come on, man. You kidding me? We'll see what happens. And now, Danny, on to LIV Golf, which is in the news once again. There's a new headline here that LIV Golf is looking to expand to 14 tournaments with $405 million in total purses in 2023. So LIV Golf is actually increasing the number of events. But what also was in the news, Danny, was Charles Barkley on Dan Patrick's show, indicating that, hey, he's had dinner with Greg Norman. He's setting a deadline of this Thursday, tomorrow, for LIV Golf to offer him, potentially $60 million to bolt from TNT to go over to LIV Golf and probably commentate, etc. Danny, this is something interesting, man. Yeah, for $60 million, and we all love Charles Barkley and the TNT crew, Kenny, Shaq, Charles, and Ernie, man. But Charles is like, hey, $60 million. Hey, I might need a boat. What say you, Danny?
LIV Golf is at it again. They are trying to poach everybody. And hey, if you're gonna do it, man, you might as well do it big. I look at this though, Jason. This is back in the 90s. For any wrestling fans, you had the WWE, and then all of a sudden WCW came around, taking all the stars, paying all the big money, and then all of a sudden that well ran dry. WCW folded, and everyone tried to get back in WWE. So I'm curious on LIV Golf if they're going to have this steady income stream to be paying all these golfers these absorbent amount of contracts, and now offering Charles Barkley that amount of money. It would be sad to see because I want to see that TNT crew stay together for our Thursday night and you can get in the playoffs and everything. But if Barkley, like you said, made it known, hey, I got to consider it. But how long will this LIV Golf sustain is the question. And
That's the big question.
Financially, I should say, because they're paying a ton of money to all these golfers. And then, like you said, offering this to Barkley. How long can they sustain this?
I think they'll be able to sustain it for a little bit because it's coming from, if I'm not mistaken, one of the funds.
Yep.
That they have. So I think it may be sustained. And plus, they've poached some of the great golfers in the world.
Yes.
So I think they're gonna have to work out the streaming capabilities, the aspect there, and probably some, getting some sponsorships. But they may have some issues getting sponsors too here in the States, based upon obviously the issues from a human rights perspective. But also what's interesting too is a lot of their tournaments are actually going to be played on former President Trump's golf courses. So with the controversy, obviously, with former President Trump, I wonder just how much fans would actually show up. A lot of issues, but it's not an issue with these golfers taking the money, because they say, well, the United States are continuing to, do deals with Saudi Arabia. So, I mean, it's the geopolitical side of it. We'll see how this plays out, man. No pun intended, but man, 60 million versus 20 million. That's a hypothetical number that Dan Patrick came up and Charles Barkley indicated, well, you're in a ballpark. Yep. So Dan Patrick put out the 60 million out there, and Charles didn't blink. He was like, well, yeah. So we'll see what happens, how this plays out. Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.